The dynamics of Domination change some matchups which I would previously consider maybe even or slightly unfavorable. I don't know, some people may disagree and say that Vampire Counts had a favorable matchup against Lizardmen, but you would always be able to at least give Vampire Counts a serious run for their money by going for a dino-heavy box build. Unfortunately, in Domination, because you have to capture multiple objectives across the map, you can't really just box up with some monster blob in the same way and abuse Vampire Counts. You actually have to fight them in the open field, and as a result, many matchups I think that the Vampire Counts may have struggled with previously will be a little bit easier for them in Domination. They're definitely going to be one of the top factions in Domination. We'll be taking a look at them versus some of the Mono Gods and the Warriors of Chaos in the future once I can start showing you the DLC stuff. But for the time being, we've got zombies in the front line here, a couple of Blood Knights, Balefire Corpse Cart, very similar build to the GHORST build I brought the other day. Skeletons to the rear, and Sternsmen, Skeleton Spears for the Lizardmen. We've got MAZDAMUNDI here, some Star Chamber Guardians, and more Temple Guards, some Saurus Warriors with spears, the Sacred Guardians of, Cohort rather, the Sacred Crocs Tords, bunch of skink cohorts as well. Let's take a look at the reserve armies. In my reserves, I've got the Devils of Schwarzhofen, 3 Graveguard with great weapons, 2 Cairn Wraiths, 2 Dire Wolves, including the Dire Pack Regiment of Renown, 4 Fell Bats, a Skeleton Warrior, and a Zombie. For my opponent's reserves, he's got 3 Cold One Spear Riders, a Revivification Crystal, 3 Saurus Spirits with shields, a single Chameleon Skink, some Feral Cold Ones, and Skink Cohort as well. Already got the Devils of Schwarzhofen coming in off of reserve. Definitely love that unit in Domination for a nice terror shock charge with good armor piercing damage. Yeah, they're gonna sort of maneuver up here and threaten to attack the hill. We're not actually gonna attack yet because soloed out versus Skinks and versus the Cohort of Quaddle here. I'm not super high on their chances to win, but let's get back to the center of the battlefield here and just enjoy some zombies. GHORST, nice pale blue color scheme getting in here. Actually looks very nice next to Lizardmen, weirdly enough. And Saurus obviously going to be a fairly solid choice here, Temple Guard as well, but the limitation is, of course, that their capture weight is the same as regular infantry. Skeletons in this patch have been changed, so they count now as expendable in terms of capture weight, so both skeleton and zombies have relatively low capture weight. Skinks have full infantry capture weight, though, so you can see off the bat that my opponent is starting to get some serious capture weight here. Of course, up on the high ground as well, I'm not really contesting, putting my Blood Knights into a position to perhaps charge up here with the Devils, commit a lot of resources to try and win up on the high ground and take that objective, and then, of course, on the low ground, just some skeletons and zombies slowly securing that. But the GHORST blob drain is definitely very real at this point. MAZDAMUNDI is going to maneuver over on his chair. Chose not to bring his lock this time, which is an interesting choice. I understand, you know, sort of from a Domination perspective, bringing him on Zlock makes him so expensive that your army gets to be very, very thin on the ground, but missing the charge of the Blood Knights, so let's get up on the high ground. The Lizardmen defending their home turf here on the Battle of Itza, taking a charge from the Blood Knights and then again from the Devils as they saturate in here, blast some of those skinks and start to deal significant damage to the Cohort of Quaddle as well. I say significant damage, nothing too crazy yet, but Cold One Spear Rider's a little bit late to follow up. Opponent prioritizing his micro elsewhere. Looks like we're going to be seeing some more AoE magic damage. Haven't really highlighted it too much, but he's been dropping significant AoE magic damage on this pocket of Sternsmen and Spearmen and whatnot. Nasty Comet lands right in the middle there, and definitely going to take out those Skeleton Spears. Thankfully, though, Sternsmen with their multiple passive regeneration effects due to the Corpse Cart, Unholy Lodestone, at least should be. No, that's a Balefire, that's right. Debuffing my opponent's Winds of Magic. I totally forgot. The Unholy Lodestones over here on Helm and GHORST, so not healing as much as they could be, but otherwise it's totally fine. Up on the high ground once again, Skinks, no question, got thinned out, and the Cohort of Quaddle will just get outvalued heavily. Spear Riders, Cold One Spear Riders, do try and get a charge. I was able to countercharge them somewhat. They're going to now follow up in this engagement, having taken a lot of damage. For myself, Dire Pack also coming into support. Got more Dire Wolves as well, since they don't count as large. Should be able to help finish off those Cold One Spear Riders. on the low ground. Nothing on my opponent's build. It really has the ability to snipe Helm GHORST aggressively, which I think is another problem. Definitely GHORST is going to be a terror in Domination, just once again due to the nature of the design. Another beautiful comment gets dropped. MAZDAMUNDI also, the AoE magic damage on him seems very legit. I can just go ahead and respond with a nice little upgraded invocation from the Necromancer. And the thing is, too, even if you end up sniping GHORST, right, he's relatively cheap, and on a somewhat of a small map like Battle of Itza, I can get him back into combat in a meaningful amount of time where he can still get really good value. So it's a tricky situation to be in. Nasty little frame lags there on OBS. I don't know why, for whatever reason, this particular patch of early access seems to have a little bit lower performance. Again, I haven't done any direct side-by-side comparison testing, but just based on feeling, definitely seems like the frame lag is a little bit higher. I'm not really sure what's causing that, but anyway, we will soldier on through as the Blood Knights do. Devil's Fort Soften, finishing off the Cohort of Quaddle, cleaning up some other units. Rev Crystal tried to come up to help, but again, the Rev Crystal being a relatively low offensive power single entity is not going to do too much, and at this point things are just generally looking pretty rough. Nice banishment going to come in here, wreck some of those skeleton warriors and zombies, but there's just so many bodies. I've got more Graveguard with great weapons coming in here on summon, and it looks like there's about to be a ruination of cities. MAZDAMUNDI cancels out, instead goes with an apotheosis to try and continue to heal those Star Chamber Guardians. Temple Guard here also getting the Rev Crystals, so yeah, at this point, my opponent is going to throw in the towel there, which I definitely understand. A little bit of a shorter Domination game today, but at that point, I had a 3 cap, and you couldn't see it, but I was, in fact, ahead on army damage value, and it's just a rough situation to be forced into as Lizardmen, so I definitely understand him throwing in the towel there mercifully. But the vampire counts feel very strong, and this is, you know, one of several games. This is arguably one of the closest ones we played in this matchup, and at least in Domination, and it's tricky, you know, the way that vampires can just saturate the field with bodies and HP and can generate it. I would say I want to see some more games from the Lizardmen workshop this matchup a little bit more. I mean, it seems tough on the outset. The biggest thing I can think of is to try and take something, again, to snipe GHORST or whatever Mortis or healing effects they might have. Now, we come back to a lot of the time, like GHORST here with no spells, just him on the corpse cart with the Master of the Dead regeneration is like 700, 750 points, something like that. So it's really not a lot. And again, if you've seen any of my Warhammer 2 Vampire Counts replays, you'll know I'm a big fan of like cheaped out Kemmler as well. You know, with the corpse carts, with maybe a Mortis engine in addition to that, so you kind of split up your passive healing effects into multiple different, preferably cheap sources, where your opponent has to make decisions about what they target, and in Domination, you know, will they have enough time to snipe all of your passive healing sources? Not to mention, once again, you can just bring them back in if they do get sniped. So it's a tricky situation for sure. It's not like in land battles where you can kind of cheese the vampire counts in many ways. Domination, they're the ones doing the cheesing, certainly. But GHORST drains out some nice value, doesn't get challenged too hard in melee, actually handles MAZDAMUNDI reasonably well in melee, which surprised me and my opponent. Blood Knights also rack up some pretty nice value. Didn't get a full battle to pay for themselves, but they were definitely trending in that direction. Same thing for the Sternsmen, despite taking that nasty AoE damage from MAZDAMUNDI. They continue to sustain and fight. I don't know how much the Balefire Corpse Cart helped here, but I brought it, so, you know, there you go. For those of you guys who are somehow fanboys of the Balefire, and look at that, 300 value on Skeleton Swordsman. Just fantastic. MAZDAMUNDI does rack up quite a bit of value, and considering how cheap he is not on Zlok, I mean, that's not too bad. Again, it's tricky to try and take a big, expensive monster caster lord like him on Zlok, but I might still try it just to see how it works. Cohort of Quaddle also ended up getting back some pretty good value, but I was kind of surprised with how poorly the Temple Guard did. They got a lot of kills just kind of drowned in bodies there. Yeah, even with the AoE magic damage of MAZDAMUNDI kind of clearing out the chaff, so to speak, to a large degree, they still just struggled to ever yeah, get clear of all those zombies and skeletons. So it's a tricky one. Let me know down in the comments below how you guys would go about this in Domination, keeping in mind that you actually do need to capture the points. You can't just go all in on like a big Dreadsaurian monster mash, although maybe a Dreadsaurian actually works here. If there's any Domination situation where it would work, maybe Vampire Counts is the one. But that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.